Hello and welcome to any and all Teemo lovers who want some wins without compromising their souls or wallets and caving to Miracle. As per request, I'll be breaking down my special brew of a hold-style Teemo deck that I've dubbed Ethical Teemo. Jumping right into it, we'll start with the battlefields. As mentioned, we're a hold-style deck. We have 2 hold-style battlefields and Bandletree, and surprise, to hide you have to be on battlefield, which means we still want to hold. I opened game 1 with Star-Tipped Peak. It's a little bit risky because our opponents can take Star-Tipped and then they start getting the runes, but we have a lot of early game tools for aggression that can almost guarantee that we get it, or even if it doesn't guarantee a high amount of times that I go second, I still take Star-Tipped while trading out value from our opponents. The extra rune Exhausted is really nice. It kind of serves as a gold on the turn that it comes in. And then if we don't end up needing that power cost, it just turns into a full rune on our next turn. This helps us get to our high end, and we have a lot of high end. But yeah, it can get us there about a turn sooner, and that can make a world of difference. And just throughout the game, I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten this extra rune just turn after turn after turn, and over the course of the game, it's really impactful. I do Bandletree going second, as we have, I think, as I mentioned before in the Discord, 15 hidden cards in this deck, so we get a lot of value out of Bandletree, and with the Teemo Legend allowing us to hide for cheap, we're certainly getting more value than any other deck in the format would. Just a really good go second battlefield. Go first, Grove of the Godwill. Similarly strong effect to Star-Tipped, only it's card draw instead of ramp. Card draw is a little bit nicer, or at least I found it to be, and as such, we want to guarantee a little bit stronger that we will be taking this battlefield before our opponent has a chance to. Moving on to the main deck. Obviously, we run Purple Teemo as our champion. He's insane. He's a guaranteed turn 1 drop. That just can't be undervalued. And whenever we get to hide him, he is a 1 energy or maybe 1 power for 4 might on the turn. And again, that's just really good. It's cheaper than an Noxus Hopeful. Moving on to why we have a second one. It's just really nice to be able to see multiple in a game. Oftentimes, depending on how we greed with this initial Teemo as our turn 1, we might lose him early on. But we have another card here, Beast Below, that synergizes very well with having these little guys. And again, they're just a good use of our hidden slot. And so having a second one helps keep that online throughout the course of a game, rather than trying to protect this one a little bit more. For our other 2 drops, we're running 3 Ravenbloom students and a Tide Turner. For the Ravenbloom students, I'll also mention that we're running 3 stack decks, 3 Stupefies, stuff like 3 sprites, fighter flights, a lot of spells. Maybe not as much as in set 1, where we'd also probably be running either like gusts or retreats on top of it, or maybe both. So again, not as much value this set as we would have had in set 1, but they're still really good. They give us a lot of turn 1 lines, or sorry, turn 2. They're a great turn 1 drop, but in turn 2 they give us a lot of lines that allow us to take those points more aggressively. And even just later on in the game, they're not a bad use of our resources. With Stupefy, right, there are 2 might swing pretty much into whatever we're attacking. We have the Tide Turner as a 1-of because, well, he's just a really nice 1-of. He, early game, can also serve as a 2-drop that's a little bit stronger than our Teemo, and we don't have to send this 1 might guy out into the fray on his own. In late game, he can pivot our units from battlefield to battlefield, both on our turn and on the enemy turn. Sometimes he's bringing in that 8 might Beast Below out of nowhere, and it catches opponents off guard quite often. So as a 1-of, he's really nice, but we also don't need too many 2-drops because of our guaranteed turn 1, so keeping him at a 1-of feels very comfortable at this moment. Moving past that, we have 3 brokers, which I'll mention with our 3 Ember Monks. Again, 15 hidden, we get a lot of value out of both of these. Ember Monk is an absolute powerhouse. For only 4 energy, this guy is routinely getting to 8+ might in combat through either just 1 flip of Edge of Night, or if we have both battlefields and 2 hiddens, and maybe sometimes that's also an Edge of Night on him and he's going to 10 on that turn. He just gets an insane amount of value and he never has a power cost. So again, just an absolutely incredible card, and we have enough hiddens to consistently get that value out of him. Black Market Broker. I think this card gets too much hate as a gold generator. I know some people don't love him. I think he's amazing. He fits really nicely into our curve, especially if we're like going first and it's our turn 2. We'll take a battlefield, then we can drop our broker there and hide a card. Right there, we have a lot of might defending. We're almost guaranteed to get that. We're guaranteed to get that gold off unless they somehow kill him on our turn in reaction to something. But again, if that's all we're doing is playing him and hiding something, they won't even have the chance. Another thing I really like about him is by timing when you react with your hidden on their turn, when you know it's safe to do so, that gold, as though it enters exhausted, will be ready on your turn once it passes back to you. And that's one thing that a lot of other gold generators don't do. They almost have no way to make sure that the gold they generate is usable right away. But Broker, he allows us to do so. Moving on to our hiddens that we haven't really mentioned yet. Sprite Call, Consult the Past, and Fight or Flight. I'll start with the obvious best here, in my opinion, which is Fight or Flight. This spell is just so immensely versatile. It is a good use of our hidden slot. It can be used from hand. It can protect our creatures. It can win us combats. It can allow just... It messes up their math, right? Like, they swing in with a few creatures thinking they can get over what we have, and we send their biggest one back. All of a sudden, they're in a really bad spot. Or, you know, maybe they're swinging in with something we can't get around and we just want to save a unit. We can do that. Or we want to take the other battlefield and we don't have something with speed in hand or nothing in base. We can Fight or Flight our own Ember Monk from hidden, and all of a sudden we have a 6 might readied Ember Monk ready to swing in with. Like, it is just so useful. On top of the fact that, again, it gives us extra value to like our Raven Blooms, which, again, that's minor, but again, just an amazing card, both hidden and from hand. It's incredible. This is one of the best cards in purple, and I still think we make use of it the best. Consult the Past. This is the next one I think is also absolutely amazing. There's a lot of people that don't like Consult the Past because you have to bluff when you play it from hidden, which is true, but I find that the more you play the deck, the more you learn the matchups, you start learning when and where you can actually play these. Half the time I've Sprite Called into a battlefield and then I just hide a Consult the Past. I don't really care about getting that extra hold point. I've already scored the extra point for the Conquer, and by hiding there, it's just something that is almost going to, like, again, I'm not worried about losing the battlefield. I'm losing the Sprite anyways, and I'm going to get a free draw too with really no risk. Like, I don't have to worry about that waste of a hidden slot anymore. From there, oh yeah, we also have Edge of Night. I should mention that before Sprite. This is just incredible. It is, although it's less might than something like a Teemo for when we flip it, it allows us so much resilience into damage-based removal that normally we don't have. Our opponents are smart. They can see that Ember Monk gets +2 when we flip a hidden. They'll see us with a hidden. They'll hit him with 6 damage, right? But Edge of Night all of a sudden turns him to 8 might in one turn. I cannot tell you how many times I've used this on that, or even just Broker or other units, into like a Broker when they're facing like 3 might removal, or Ember Monk when he's facing 6 might removal. And this gets them over that threshold, and then they don't have units to swing in with and guarantee to finish them off, or maybe they don't want to because they don't want to trade the few units they have. So very often this causes them to just waste a removal spell anytime it's like damage-based removal. Not to mention, most hidden cards provide just a temporary thing, right? It's he gets the 4 might for a turn. Or, well, he gets the +3 might go into 4 for a turn. Fight or Flight does one thing in the moment. Sprite Call creates that for turn. Consult the Past, just an instant draw 2, right? Most of these things have a one-time effect. Edge of Night is a fantastic card as well, in the sense that it provides a permanent addition to our board, or mostly permanent. Obviously, it suffers to gear removal, but being able to have our Ember Monk sit at 6 for the rest of the game, and now at any point when we're casting another hidden, he's just always going to 8, that's really useful. We also make a lot of gold from our Brokers. I find that, like, on minimum, each one of these guys will generate me 2 to 3 gold throughout the course of a game. The minimum that I ever see these guys generate is 1. I don't even think I've had a game that they've generated me 0 on any occasion. But yeah, so because of that, even if these guys that were initially equipped die, we can still fund very cheap equips with our Broker gold onto anything we want. There's been several times where I've just had 2 of these things sitting in base and like 4 gold, and I cast a Sprite and I double equipped and I send in 7, right? Trading out whatever value I want, sometimes getting a Conquer if they only have 6 might, and then hiding something else. It's very useful, very good card. And moving on to Sprites. I know a lot of people don't like Sprites. I don't know why. They prefer Wages. I unequivocally prefer Sprite over Wages. Again, we want to be on battlefield. We want to hold, and they get us there. Wages will never, unless we have another unit in base, can never get us a battlefield, can never score us a point. Sure, it makes a gold, but again, it comes in exhausted. We don't really want to cast Wages from like hidden, because neither do we want to cast Sprite from hidden, but Wages from hidden too, because a lot of the times if they're doing their little tricks, we just won't have a target other than one of our own units for it, right? If they're trying to deal with our creatures before they send anything in, Wages is just a bad spell. Granted, again, it's like Sprite, it's better played from hand than hidden, but I think Sprite does more to contributing to our game plan than Wages does. We already have plenty of gold generation. We don't need that from Wages. Yeah, I think I made my case. Like, even just sending this guy in with a Teemo in hand, right? All of a sudden, for 4 energy, we have a 7 might hold on a battlefield. It's really hard for other decks to get over that, especially considering how early that can come in. Moving into our high end, I have a 1 of Rocket Barrage. I know that this one's somewhat controversial. I know a lot of people don't like this spell. I love this spell. Granted, I can understand the criticism. For me, its flexibility and utility is worth it. Being able to kill a gear or a unit in base, 4 might as well, it's a good breakpoint to have. You can kill a purple Ezreal in base. You can kill the red Draven in base. You can kill a yellow Azir in base. Again, very good into a lot of things that we see in this meta. Just on that one part alone. Being able to have targeted gear removal is also very good for us. In these colors, in my opinion, we don't really have the best gear removal options. And on top of that, this thing can be repeated to either kill multiple gear. It can kill a unit and a gear, right? Like, this can be repeated, and all of a sudden we've deleted their purple Ezreal and their purple Seal, which just shuts the entire Miracle Engine offline in an instant, right? Or we can, hit 2 units in base, hit 1 unit up to 8 damage in base, right? Like, it has a lot of flexibility. Yes, it's a little more expensive than something like Singularity, but as a 1 of, I don't think I've ever had this card in hand into almost any matchup and never felt like I could make use of it. I think it's really nice. It's really flexible. Then we also have Singularity. Singularity is just amazing. It is extremely efficient creature removal. Hitting base is such a big thing too. There's so many games that I'm playing into Miracle, or other decks too, but Miracle especially, where they're developing 2 Rasas and a Battering Ram in base or something like that in one turn, and being able to just on our turn say, all right, well, 2 of those are gone now. They're not back to hand. They're not recastable. They're just gone. Again, it's incredible. I don't think there's anyone in the game of Riftbound that would argue that Singularity isn't a fantastic spell. For our high-end creatures, we run 3 Watchers. Now, I know some people are saying 3 Watchers might be a little bit overkill. I would disagree. It adds the consistency that we need, especially considering, like, if we get pushed off battlefield, if we're not able to stay on battlefield, our game plan is kind of out the window, right? We need to be holding to make use of these hidden cards. And Watchers are get out of jail free card, right? If they push us off, very often we have a Watcher in hand, we can just Watcher back in, don't have to sweat it. I like the amount of times where I've had 2 of these in hand, and I Watcher in, place a hidden, they go back in, they trade a bunch of value, and they manage to take the point back, and then I just Watcher again the very next turn. Like, it's so powerful to have multiple of these, as well as, like, when you're mulliganing, if you see a Watcher and you only have 2, might make you think twice about sending one away, right? They're so good for us to have. Not to mention, even if it's not just like a get out of jail free card, if we're firmly holding one battlefield and we need a means to secure the second, he's our means. We send him in. And it's so often it's just a solo conqueror while trading immense value. Again, just an all-star of a unit. I would never cut the 3rd one of these for anything. Then moving on to the rest of our high-end units, we have 2 Beast Belows and 2 Mind Splitters. Mind Splitter is fantastic. He allows us to kind of press the issue, right? Whenever we have a slight lead, we can, again, we're kind of always looking for ways to develop our might on point, or maybe in base if we're feeling extra conservative, but might on point while setting them back as much as possible. If they don't have too many good options in base or on the other battlefield to try to deal with, or maybe we don't have our other tools to handle them, Mind Splitter is always fantastic. Being able to eliminate their biggest threat from hand before they've even played it is sometimes game winning. They're especially into decks that aren't like it loses a bit of value into Miracle because of how much they draw, but into these almost any other deck in the format that isn't drawing their entire deck every game, Mind Splitter just does wonders. It takes away their game-winning spell. Nothing can counter this. You cannot hard to bargain this. You cannot defy it. You cannot wind wall it. You cannot not so fast it. This is an effect that always gets off and can always just pick off the best card in their hand. And on top of that, it gives us knowledge of their entire hand. That allows us to, right when we're placing our hidden cards, especially, having knowledge of what's in their hand can very often dictate what we want to hide where. We can, again, we know what to start expecting. We know what tools to hold up where. Just a very good card. Very good card. I don't think there's many people that would deny that either. Beast Below. I think this guy is incredibly underutilized. There's probably plenty of people that would say this isn't that good of a card because, well, it undevelops you. And that might be true in a lot of decks, but considering we have that one mite little guy who's often sitting around, floating about, because we flipped him over a few times, generated some broker gold, and then he's just kind of sitting in base, or maybe we have him still hidden. We can always just flip him right before we do the play, where we drop a Beast Blow, we target our Teemo and their biggest unit, or their most expensive unit. And again, this thing can target the opponent's base. So, I mean, if you think Rebuke is good, that's battlefield only, requires you And again, it's not developing might of your own. This develops 8 might. Again, it's kind of that same thing as talking about Mind Splitter, right? We're always seeking to develop might of our own while setting them back, right? This does that very well. And by bouncing our Teemo, again, he just allows us to rehide it, or, we shuffle our hands and we get a little crafty. Maybe we bluff a consult. He's just very useful. 8 might is also insane. That plus a Edge of Night and 10 might, again, anything outside of yellow is going to have a very hard time handling a guy like that. We also have a 1 of Guerrilla Warfare, which I hadn't mentioned. Again, our 15 hiddens. He allows us to grab him back and then hide for free. Just really good. I think a Teemo's signature spell, especially if you have enough hiddens in the deck, quickly becomes one of the better signature spells of set 1. For the sideboard, I won't talk all day about it. I think it's actually very flexible. Currently in it, I have 3 hard bargains for just spell-heavy decks that are really getting under your skin. If you're finding that... The reason I don't really actually love these ones too much is the curve of this plays really smooth. We don't often have that much mana up on the other turn, sometimes 2, but again, ideally if you have this, you'd have 4 up to really shut them down. And yeah, I don't know. I've just found this one a little bit iffy. It's very rarely felt like this has done much for me in a game when I've tried it. So yeah, with this whole sideboard, I'd say it's fairly flexible for you to kind of craft it how you will, maybe take your locals into account. I run 2 more Rocket Barrage, again, kind of mainly for the Azir matchup. You could do acceptable losses too, but I just don't ever want to give up our Edge of Nights. But it's probably worth it into Azir. But this for me, just being able to delete 2 of Azir's gear at one time is really important. Again, I think Azir is kind of one of our tougher matchups. And so I tucked my sideboard a little bit to try to handle that better. Sprite Mothers. This is probably the only one that I would say I think any deck should keep in their sideboard if they're running this same main board. We still struggle into Victor. Victor is a hard matchup just because of their raw amount of removal, often ignoring our might. And this is 2 units in 1. It gets us, and it's also a unit with speed while maintaining a unit in base. We can send in a Sprite, get a Conquer, maybe hide a Teemo, and then we still have a 3 might unit ready to go next turn in base. Just really good, efficient. I know some people are saying, oh, well, Fizz is just a better Sprite Mother. Well, kind of, but you'd need Sprites in Trash, and, just can't guarantee that. These guys are much more consistent for only 1 more energy, and... Again, honestly, so many turns we're only playing like 1 card a turn. It doesn't really matter if it's 1 energy more. Another Singularity in the side, just because some games I don't really care for the flexibility of being able to use Gear Hate. I would rather just be able to delete more big units, and Singularity allows me to do that, so that's why I have them in the side. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the deck. Some other notes, I suppose, on how to play it. I would say to avoid early power costs as much as possible. It oftentimes enables our high-end a turn or 2 sooner if you do that. Sometimes you might be on 7 runes with no gold up and be tempted to drop a Mind Splitter. I would advise against it because that keeps us out of Watcher range. Only if you're sufficiently ahead, really ahead, would I drop it. Because again, I just do not like delaying the rest of our high end. We usually want to get to 8 runes as quick as possible, and from there you can start casting these guys to your heart's content. Another note would be the student with sprite combination. I know some people don't love students. Again, there's valid concerns. Again, it's not as good as our set 1. But again, with Sprite Call, we have so many lines available to us. I cannot tell you how many times at turn 2 I drop a Raven Bloom with a Sprite, and maybe I have a Stupefy or a Stack Deck in hand, and I'm able to dodge removal, right? It'll be into a Victor where they have the 1 battlefield, and now they have 3 runes up, and I know they're sitting on a Wages of Pain, and I cast down a Sprite, Raven Blooms to 3, I have a Stupefy in hand. I intentionally send my Ravenbloom into the other battlefield, and they try to bait out their wages. Once they do, I just Stupefy their unit on the other battlefield, allowing the sprite pretty much a guaranteed free trade, and making them waste the removal on my student with no value other than the gold they generate. And then I get a double conquer. And again, if we're going second, which is pretty common, or like again in this line is where I like to use it the most. Going second, we're still able to then have 1 energy up after that whole combo to hide something with the student. Again, just really good. It allows us a lot of early game aggression. And again, the kind of core philosophy I had when building this deck is a lot of early game aggression. Make sure we secure the battlefield or battlefields, like our desired one or both. Again, we have a lot of early game options to do so. Then we have some very efficient units that help us hold that advantage until we enable our high end, which just is it's the nail in the coffin, right? This thing, our high end devastates most boards. It's really good. It's really efficient. That was the aim of building this deck, is an aggressive low end that can help set up a very expensive, right? Like we have a lot more high end than other decks might run, but it's very expensive, but also very efficient, right? Thousand Tailed, extremely efficient. Singularity, extremely efficient. Beast Below, Mind Splitter, all of these are extremely efficient. The only one that's not really extremely efficient is Rocket Barrage, but again, that one just has a ton of flexibility. Currently on TCGA, which I know doesn't mean a whole lot to all of you, I'm still probably, I think, like 40-7 with this deck, or at least some very slight version, or with only slight differences to this deck. It's been serving me really well. It's been doing really good into Miracle. It performs a little bit worse into something like mid-range Draven. Granted, we're able to get more value out of Mind Splitter in those matchups. But yeah, it's been doing me really good. Other notes, I guess I'd still say, focus on that Beast Below Teemo combo. Do it if you have the opportunity. It feels really good. It's a really big swing for us tempo-wise. It forces them to redevelop oftentimes a slow unit for a lot of cost. Meanwhile, all it allowed us to do is re-enable us to hide a Teemo that flipping him in the first place gave us a gold to work with, right? Like he's really good. Try your best as well to avoid situations where you're playing from behind, where you're knocked off point and you can't get back on. Again, we can snowball leads pretty well. It's hard for us to claw back outside of Watcher. Sometimes we can take a couple turns of development in base where we drop a Mind Splitter to check what tools they have, and then follow up next turn with like a Sprite and a Thousand Tail to be able to have some might able to swing into both points and redevelop. But I mean, again, if you're off battlefield for 2 or 3 turns in a row, like it's probably game at that point. It's really hard to come back for this deck. Luckily, with our tools, I've found it extremely rare to find ourselves in that kind of situation. I think the deck performs very well. I guess the last but not least, about playing this deck is you get to enjoy a peaceful sleep, because you know that you can compete with the current meta to some degree without succumbing to miracle builds, and I think that's the best of all. That's where it gets its name. And I encourage people to try it out. Don't be afraid to tinker with some things. Even myself, I'm often cutting the Tide Turner as a one-of for just an extra singularity in the main. I try out different changes, but for the most part, this is the core of the deck. And if you try it out, best of luck. Let me know how it performs. If there's enough demand, I'll still try to put out a video covering some gameplay for it, so people can see how I like to pilot it, if they're struggling to find similar success. But as of right now, I've been cooking up a separate deck that keeping under wraps for just a little bit. Diabolical Teemo, and I think a lot of people will like it if I get it working in a place that I like. I think there's going to be a lot of fans. Also avoids Miracle Shell, but yeah, stay tuned. Anyways, yeah, thanks for listening. I hope it helps to any and all that were interested. Maybe some of the doubters feel like, okay, maybe it's got some legs. If not, oh well, it's whatever. It's a homebrew. Yeah, peace.